Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Triveni Haikai India, welcome everyone from all parts of the world who've joined us on a Sunday morning, afternoon, evening, night. Some of you are already on Monday. Thank you very much for taking the time to be here to celebrate one of India's best known poets in the haibun, in the world of haibun, a much loved writer, photographer, teacher, and a mentor to many of us who began writing the art form many years ago. We're honored to have with us today Nandini Manjrekar and their lovely daughter, Naina. Well, it's over to Kala for the formal welcome, and then we get started. Thank you very much for being here, everyone.
Thank you, Shobhana. Maybe you could bring down the poster, Ravi? Yes. A very warm welcome. I wouldn't say morning, night, evening. It's a very warm welcome day to everyone, because I just heard from someone it's 1:30 the night for them. So I thought Indians were the last here at 8:30. It is a great pleasure for Triveni Haikai India to be hosting the book launch of Johannes Manjrekar's book, Jacarandas Are a Deep Shade of Blue. I'm sure everyone who has read it would love it. And all the people who know him have a double-edged way of relating to each haibun of his, because we have spoken to him, we have read about these haibun, we have interacted with him on many occasions, and so this becomes even more special. And so it's been a great pleasure to have Nandini here, and Naina, and Divya Jyoti, who is the publisher, has also agreed and has been gracious enough to be here with us today. So it's a beautiful occasion to celebrate and applaud the works of one of our great haibun writers, Johannes Manjrekar. And a special thank you to all the poets of the haiku poets of Northern California. Susan is here, and Catabella is here. I see a few others also from there. So thanks a lot. And also, Maria, Nandini told me that she's a very close friend of Johannes and hers too. And I know once when Johannes told me, Maria is your friend, isn't it? She's just commented on your post. How is it you're not commented? I said, I quickly went in. That was a long time back, Maria. Then I quickly acknowledged your post, because he was there always, constantly there to tell us. Before we start, let me read Johannes' bio for you. Johannes Manjrekar, 1957 to 2020, spent first few years of his life in Germany and a large part of his growing up years in Mysore, Karnataka. His early interest in wildlife and natural history led him to pursue molecular biology for his PhD at the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Mumbai. After his postdoctoral research, he joined the Microbiology Department and Biotechnology Center at the Maharaja Sayaji Rao University, Baroda, from where he retired in 2019. Johannes pursued other interests apart from his scientific ones: insect collecting, bird watching, photography, translation. He was fluent in 7-8 languages, primarily English and German. satirical pieces on contemporary life and politics, and most of all, haiku, for which she came to be known by the community of poets. Sadly, Johannes did not get a chance to enjoy the years beyond retirement from his teaching and research, a period he had come to long for as a new chapter in his life. Life could certainly have been kinder. Had he had enough time before moving on to the great beyond, he would certainly have spent most of it doing what he loved best, writing and photography. Johannes believed in a socially just and kinder world. For him, the poetry of the word and image kept these imaginations alive. He believed in his favorite scientist, Darwin's famous words, "If the misery of the people be caused not by the laws of nature, but by our institutions, great is our sin." This sensibility, with characteristic compassion and wit, runs through all his writing. It comes across most sharply in his haibun about childhood and growing up. Stories of experiences, intimate accident that shaped his own ways of understanding and seeing the world. I was deeply touched reading this bio. When I first wrote to Nandini in October 2022, about the Triveni Utsav, I was thinking of planning to have it in February 2023, and whether she could have Johanna's book ready by that time, because I knew she was working on it and she's been wanting to work on it. So I asked her and she said she will try her best. She got the book ready and we launched this book at the Triveni Utsav just a few months back. And after Utsav, I received this poignant email from Nandini, and this is what she says. "I started working on Johannes' material 2 years back and had given Naina all that I had gathered then. There is a need for an archive, and I'm so happy she's putting it all together." This day, following Joan Didion's The Year of the Magical Thinking, it was difficult. Who's that? Can you switch it off, please? It was difficult to work on the book earlier because it signals finality when one doesn't want it, when one always believes there will be a return. It needed time, and the Triveni Utsav was that time, and you helped me convince myself that it was. For this, I owe you deep gratitude. This was a letter to me, emailed to me. All I can say to you, Nandini, is a huge, a big, a Himalayan-sized thank you for this book and for finding the time to plunge into a field you didn't know much. I'm sure you know much more about haibun and about Johannes' writing about haiku and haibun than any one of us now, because you've gone so deep into this book to bring out a beautiful book like this. And it speaks volumes of your love for Johannes. Thank you so much. Maybe we could go for the book launch now. Yeah, Ravi?
Yes, Kala?
Yeah, can you just show the Nandini, the speakers, please?
Yes, Nandini, if you could, yeah, there you go, I'll spot it.
No, all the speakers. Yeah, all the speakers. You said you'll highlight. Hi, Nandini.
I will try and do that. Not everyone is turned their cameras on.
Yeah, please. Shobhana, Shalini,
Just hang on.
and then myself, and then who? Firdaus
And Paresh.
and Paresh. The 6 people I had given you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ravi, you have pinned me.
Uh-huh.
Ah.
Yeah, Paresh has not come yet, I think.
Paresh is there, correct?
Paresh is there. Please.
Paresh, if you could just open your camera, please.
Yes, Paresh.
Am I missing someone?
Yes, we are missing Shalini.
Sorry, one second. There you go. Give me 1 minute. I'm just doing this.
Yes.
I'll have to remove.
And now we could go for the book launch. If you could all go.
Sorry, just be there.
I don't have a book because mine is in Pune and I'm in Chennai now.
There you go. All of us there. Yeah.
Nandini, you can show the book.
You're on mute.
You?
Muted.
We can't hear you, Nandini.
I actually do have a copy here. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Lovely. I'll do the clapping because I don't have the book with me. Lovely. I would request Nandini to talk to us, whatever she wants to say, whatever she wants to share with us, because doing a manuscript, getting together a manuscript is not easy. And you had to go back to Baroda. You had to search for people. You had to find out websites. You had to collect the haibun, which is not easy what you did. And you've done such a good job. And I would like you to talk about your experience and what you did to get out such a beautiful book for us. Over to you, Nandini.
Thank you, Kala, and thanks to all of you. I'm deeply touched by this gesture, and in all humility, I don't know if I'm going to be representing the work as such. I have absolutely no authority to do that. I cannot speak for Johannes, but I'm sure somewhere he is smiling down at all of us today. And if I heard his voice in my soul right, I think he would have liked a book. And I think that there is, I think some of us have talked about this, about whether Johannes actually wanted his writing in print. He was very self-effacing, a very, very quiet and humble person. And perhaps, I've never been quite sure whether he actually really wanted the book, but there was something that told me that he possibly did. And indications of that were, one, when people asked him after retirement, what is it that you want to do? Because we always get asked, what is your plan B? As if, there's only can be a plan B and no other plan when you retire. And he would always say he wants to write. So that was one. The other thing was that when I went to his computer, I actually saw that he had actually organized his writing rather well, thematically and in folders. He was very organized about his work in general. Otherwise, I'm not a very organized person, but when it came to work, he was very organized. But the actual writing, I think, took me also quite by surprise and made me think that perhaps he was thinking of at some point thematically putting, because he had such a wide genre of writing, which included haibun and haiku and other kinds of writing, translations, scientific papers. And so I wasn't quite sure really why those folders why exactly he'd organized them. But like I wrote to Kala, I think it is very difficult to, it was very difficult for me to actually go back to his writing. I was familiar with a lot of it, but it was very difficult to go back to it because it was so essentially him. I mean, he had that quality of being, that sense of irony and humor, and being able to see sort of the inanities of everyday social life and the pathos of everyday social life. And I think a lot of his writing reflects that. And so I thought that possibly the most logical, really, writing to begin with would be his writing on childhood. There are many reasons why I think, and in Pune I talked about this a bit more, that he himself had a very interesting childhood, and because of that, I think he was able to look at the world through the eyes of a child in a way that was quite different from a lot of people who've written about their own childhoods. And one sees that, I think, very strongly reflected in his writing on childhood that's here. So this is really not even half of even the folder on childhood, because it was tough to actually pick out so much. And in putting them together, and I was very keen that his photographs also are there because his photographs were his image poems in a sense. And I felt that they needed to be there. So I tried to also select photographs that somewhere spoke to the idea of childhood. I think in doing that, I was just, I was really supported by Paresh, and I think I wouldn't have been able to put it together as, as somebody from the inside if Paresh hadn't helped and guided me, and I owe him a great measure of gratitude for that. And of course, for Kala, for telling me that it is time, and it's time that I do it also to heal. And I think she's used these very words actually. And so I'm extremely grateful to Kala for that as well. And then Dibyajyoti actually was recommended to me by a friend who's also a writer and who knew him. And it was really a collaboration, I think. I mean, it was really great working with him. And he gave further direction to the way in which it could be put together. And of course, the cover, and I think Jinal was planning to join today. I requested her to join. Jinal is a young artist friend who actually works in various styles, but this is one of her styles. I attribute it, I don't know if she agrees, but I attribute it to her history of belonging to Kutch and the storytelling narratives of Kutch. And I found that this is a cover that spoke many stories, like the stories in the book. And so I am also immensely grateful to Jinal for paying so much attention to the writing and coming up with such a beautiful cover. So I think, I mean, I just hope that this is what Johannes would have liked. That's all I can say. I think perhaps, one is never sure that one is doing a complete representation, or when one is working with someone else's writing, however close that person is to you. But it was an effort. It's really a minuscule part of his overall range of writing. And I think it helped me to discover sides to him that perhaps even I was not completely, as deeply cognizant of as I think one of the big problems for me, and perhaps for Naina as well, was seeing the memory of somebody so close to us becoming an archive. And I think that all memories do become archives, but we are it's very difficult to let something go and become something that is just out there in the public domain, as much as you realize that it should be. So I think this was in that sense, it's a beginning, and I hope that I can sort of look at his work a little more and try and bring out some of his haiku, which is also very, very beautiful, and think of doing that as well at some point. So I think I'll stop here. I think just one more thing that I wanted to say is that I think of all people, I think Johannes would have been very happy that there's a community of poets that work together and collaborate together. And at a time when the whole idea of community has become very fraught, and the ideas of mutual support and cooperation are standing at fairly endangered in many places. And here we actually have this wonderful community. I saw it in Pune, face to face, and I'm just so happy to be here. And I'm sure Johannes would be very happy also. And he is somewhere very happy. So I'll stop there for now. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really express.
Thank you so much, Nandini.
And I really want to thank Dibajyoti as well. I mean, he was very patient with me and my everyday calls. And I am just so deeply touched that Naina is here. I think I'm also very, very deeply touched by someone else being here who I've known since I was a child, Usha Mukunda. I'm so happy, Usha, that you could be here. I mean, Usha was, she's quite legendary in her own way, and I'm really very deeply grateful for Usha being here. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you so much, Nandini. Beautiful, beautiful. I just want to share that I came to know Johannes when I was, I think in 2006, 2005, I came into Haiku, and I started reading his work because I wanted to write haibun. And I was so taken up with his honesty and his simplicity and the way he told his stories and the way he built his characters. Okay. And then in 2006, I actually met him because I organized my first Haiku Utsav in Pune. And Pune University, Pune Municipal Corporation sponsored it. And they put up the poets in the hotel. There were just 8 of them and 4 localites. And I went to the hotel in the morning to meet the poets. And there was the first time I saw Johannes. At the counter, he was just there. And I knew because of Facebook, I knew I could recognize him, but I went close to him and he was towering over me. Okay, he's tall. And after that, for every festival I organized, he was there. And in 2019, I said, I would like to know all the people who were there for 2006. Can you put up your hand? 2008, 2010, 2013, 2016, and now 2019. He put up his hand and he said, I'm a repeater. I can never forget that line. I'm a repeater, Kala, he said. And over the years, it is just the 2 days or 3 days. And of course, we did an anthology together, the Katha's anthology together, along with Vidur and Johannes. For that, for nearly 45 days, we were writing so many mails about choosing which poem and how to go about it and all that. And so it was, in a way, a very, very nice way of getting to know a person who not only is a mentor, like Shobhana said very beautifully, but is also a friend, who's also someone you can look up to, who can, we can sort of say, this is the way I want a haiku poet to be. You know, he had come over one day to my house and we were having dinner, and a lizard went streaking past from the platform into my fridge, under the fridge. He said, this is what you've written about in your book for children, that you leap crossed over the lizard. I said, Johannes, how do you remember these things? Okay, so this amount of, what to say, his memory is good. His memory was good. His way of linking was good. And so association of thoughts, and all these are things, something that is admirable. I still remember I had organized a lecture for him in one of his, when he came to Pune at the Gokhale Institute. I went and spoke to them, to the director, and I said, I would, Johannes Manjrekar is coming. He's a very good poet of ours, and like you, him to talk to your students. He said, did you, what is his name? I said, Johannes Manjrekar. He said, I know him. And who will ever have that combination of Johannes with Manjrekar? Nobody can forget him. So, you know, there are so many other instances that keep on coming. But before that, I think we can go on to the reading. We can start off maybe with Firdaus. Yes, Firdaus?
Yeah. Thank you, Kala. And hello, everybody, for being here. And thank you for being here. And a heartfelt thank you to Nandini for this beautiful book. Before I read the haibun from the book, I'd like to talk about the book itself very briefly. I timed myself, it's like 3 minutes and 20 seconds because I'm really scared of this spotlight thing. I'm not comfortable. So I've written it and I'm going to read it and I'll just pretend otherwise. But it is often said not to judge a book by its cover. In this case, I encourage you to do so, as the cover is vibrant and cheerful, reminiscent of the Jacaranda tree in bloom. Personally, I love it. Although Johannes is a highly regarded poet both in India and internationally, I found his poetry quite recently and delved into his haibun. As such, this book is a true delight for me. I never had the opportunity to meet him like some of us over here, but I feel as though I have come to know him through the pages of this book as we journey together down memory lane of his childhood. It has been a wonderful experience filled with simplicity, humility, and open-heartedness. As I immersed in his words and images, I found myself transported back to my childhood, where I felt a deep sense of emotional familiarity. It was like listening to a nostalgic song that brings back both happy and melancholic memories. And of course, these feelings are universally understood. We are all connected by the same thread of life's melody. The haibun that I have chosen to read is titled Magic. As in this first fast-paced and increasingly chaotic world, it is a reminder that magic still exists if only we take the time to look for it. Johannes has expressed this sentiment so eloquently. Ravi, can you now put the slide up? Thank you so much. You're a star, Ravi.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so magic. One second, let me put my specs on. Oops. Magic. And there's an image, a photograph of Johannes here, where there's this little boy and he's hunched over a basket full of these cheap wristwatches. And I was wondering what this boy is actually thinking about. Is there magic in all the ticking of these clocks that he's...
Can you show it? Can you show the picture?
You see this?
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So magic. Magic was not something supernatural. It was a green golden chrysalis and the huge butterfly that emerged from it. Magic was the intricate labor of chirring weaver birds at the edge of the summer river, the musical chatting of parakeets in the mango trees, the sparkling mica promising treasures in an abandoned quarry, the sulfurous smell of Diwali fireworks, the miracle of real people making music in a live orchestra, the incomprehensible power of a graceful school teacher. It was the aching delicacy of Jacaranda trees, the flooding sweetness of jalebis, the precociously coquettish smile of a classmate, the triumphant six by the world's best batsman, the delicious peeling off of sunburned skin. Magic was the wonder of being. As the years go by, the magic does not go away. It just becomes harder to recognize. Aureole, that flash of gold in the sun. Aureole, that flash of gold in the sun. Back to you, Kala. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Firdaus. That was a lovely piece you read, and you spoke so well about the book. And especially, you told me also on the telephone that you liked the cover a lot. I'm happy about it.
Yes. I really did. How do I mute myself?
I'm now going to read free verse, free speech. It is a haibun which I want you to notice how in one line he gets this character of his mother, his father, that uncle from Bombay, and he himself as a teenager and as a young growing up Johannes, all in just one line. And just notice those lines. Free speech. Had my father been a formal person, he would have never have appeared in company in the shapeless blue shorts my mother so passionately hated. Even so, when his friends came over for tea, the conversation was more often than not formal and stilted. I don't know how I got into the habit of sitting through so many of these visits. Perhaps it started with the time a Nepali student was being discussed. What's his background? Someone asked. Mountains, I blurted out, and was hugely gratified by the adult laughter. I was cured of this habit when an old colleague of my father came to visit us from Bombay. He proffered a chocolate bar as soon as the door was opened, as if this was something that needed to be gotten over with quickly. For your son, he said to my mother, looking me over critically. My, how tall he's become. He's so quiet. Used to be such a little monkey, never still. He was seeing me after 10 years. I persisted in not swinging from the curtains, but at some point broke with quietness to venture an opinion on something. My father's friend began to talk about how westernized children had become these days, and how in his time no child would have dared to butt into adult conversation. Well, times have changed, he concluded with a sigh. I wanted my father to hit him, but all he did was reply, he's okay, you know. Moonless night. The silence is deepest around the cricket. Moonless night. The silence is deepest around the cricket. I don't know whether, all of us would have done that. When a cricket is making a noise, the minute you go close to it, it stops. It almost looks like we are waiting for the cricket to start and the cricket is waiting for us to move back. Okay, and that silence is the deepest. So now relating it to this haibun, moonless night, the silence is deepest around the cricket. Okay, I wanted my father to hit him, but all he did was reply, he's okay, you know. For a boy of that age, to see a father so mature say that it's okay. He's okay. Okay. And so that silence, I think, would have hit him a lot more if the father had really hit him, or if the father had said, "Oh yeah, I agree with you. He keeps interrupting," or something. No, he supported the child, and that I think that is a moment of deep, what to say, revelation of the mother, the father, the uncle here, and is growing up and how he's going to tackle people in later life. And I think this haibun, when I read it, and this haiku said so much about the haibun. And that is what I wanted to highlight here. So we go on next to Paresh. And Paresh, I loved your afterword in the book. It was so well written. And Naina, I forgot to tell Nandini, your foreword was lovely. It was so intuitive and so good. I mean, only you could have written something like that. And Paresh, I loved your afterward. Thank you so much. And thanks a lot to Divya Jyoti for giving us this gem of a book. Thank you. Yes, Paresh, over to you.
Thank you, Kala. Thanks a lot. I'm glad that I could write something about Johannes. It's a difficult thing to do. When I came to haiku a little more than a decade ago, it was Anjali who took me under her wing, saw me complete a few haiku, and then something during the mails triggered her to say that you could probably write a haiku. And she said that, and in the mail was a haibun of Johannes. That was Johannes's work, was my initiation, was the first haibun that I ever read. It's quite unfortunate, you know. I believe that there were only really two Haijin from the country who sort of embodied the kind of monkhood, the kind of ahvare that you expect of a haiku and a haibun writer. And unfortunately, both of them left us. Both of them left us without a book. And we have a bone to pick with them for that. Though Nandini, righted that wrong for Johannes, we are still awaiting for a book by Anjali. I hope it sees the light of the day soon. However, we are here to talk about Johannes, and my interactions with him were few and far apart. I probably met him 4 or 5 times. The first time I met him was during one of the book launches by Kala. She did it in Crossword, which was near Churchgate. That was the first time I met him. And immediately after the book launch, we went off to Jeffrey's because we wanted to have a drink. And while we were walking, and it's not really a very long distance to Jeffrey's from Churchgate, but the walk was made longer because Johannes had a lot of photographs to click. So he would just, he was like a child running off to one shiny thing to another. And all through my very meager interactions with him, this was always the running theme, right? But he also had a way of making you feel as if you're the only person at the moment for whom his entire concentration, his entire efforts are focused on, because he did give you that importance, and I can never forget that. Now, I have chosen the title haibun of the book to read. Jacarandas are a deep shade of blue. Primarily because somehow it reminds me of my childhood. Jacarandas, incidentally, are also called Neeli Gulmohar or Neeli Mohar. And one of the roads that led to my house in Lucknow was lined with gulmohars. I had never seen I had never seen jacarandas till the time I really was probably 30, 32 years old. So coming across this, but I still sort of feel that the tree is very, very close to gulmohar, and it reminds me of my experiences, and I just wanted to read this one. Jacarandas are a deep shade of blue. I was 13 or 14, and jacarandas were in full bloom. I was walking around a straight tar road, the evening sunlight spraying off it like water. A football game was in progress to the right of the road, and it being football, and the men mostly young, there was a constant stream of shouts and calls for passes. On the other side of the road, the jacarandas silently bloomed, and I was 13 or 14. Out of nowhere, it occurred to me that someday jacarandas would be blooming and football players shouting, and I would know nothing about it. Then, or ever again. And suddenly, I was overwhelmed by the thought of ever again, and began to run as fast as I could, and I kept running till I got home, and my lungs were bursting, and the pain felt good because I could feel it. And because all it was just a burning in the chest. Evening tea, my parents talk about their day. Evening tea, my parents talk about their day. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you, Nandini. And hi, Naina. It's really good to finally see you here. Thanks due to Dibya, who has been silent and absent, and but thank you for bringing this book out. It means a lot to a lot of us. Over to you, Kala.
Thank you, Paresh. Thank you for that talk about him and about your feelings about him. It was all beautifully said, and for that haibun that you've chosen. Thank you so much. We'll now go to Shalini. Shalini is actually, it's 4 o'clock for you in the afternoon, 5 in the afternoon, isn't it? Early evening. Okay. The most perfect time for you. Here we are heading towards 10 o'clock. Yeah, please take over.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say a few words before I read the haibun that I've selected for this evening. I came across Johannes's work only when Shobhana told me about the very few writers who were initially writing haibun from India. And when we were curating the haibun gallery, it seemed natural for us to therefore document the first few writers who had pioneered haibun writing in the Indian context. It was difficult for us to locate Johannes's work online because if there is an absence of a book, a document that archives a person's work, it is challenging to find the kind of language that we want to look for, the kind of narrative that we want to look for. So for that reason, when I came across this book and I read it, it was like a second meeting with Johannes, digitally speaking, but a welcome meeting because I got to know him a bit more. It seems strange for me to say that I got to know him a bit more because I've never met him. I've never had that privilege. But it does feel as if you get to know a person when a person's writing is so intimately intertwined with his lived experience. So although the book cannot be called a memoir, but at the same time, every single haibun acts as a memoir because it is so much a part of his life that he has documented through his writing. So I'm going to share one from this collection titled Ladanya Metro. The millipede is black with regularly spaced yellow markings. Its resemblance to a train at night is enhanced by the smooth way it glides along the ground on its many wonderfully coordinated legs. Suddenly, I'm transported back to a night many years ago. A couple of minutes out of Nerul station, very little was visible other than the fading station lights. Though my father was sure of the general direction, the narrow paths across the slushy ground were difficult to pick out in the feeble light of our torch. It's just 10 minutes from the station, my father kept insisting, but we blundered through the darkness for what seemed like hours before my father exclaimed, "Ah!" All our torch showed was a bunch of trees, but they were mango trees. 2 minutes later, we were knocking on the door of the owner's mud and wood house. The kerosene lantern-lit face that appeared at the door abruptly went from suspicion to delight. And half an hour later, we were polishing off the last of the bhakri and smoke-tinged fowl. Later at night, my father and I sat on a charpoy under the mango trees. That must be the last Karjat local, my father remarked as we watched the near-empty train glide through the darkness. Ladanya Metro, I think now, decades later. The hug he gave me before I fell asleep that night was perhaps the closest this matter-of-fact rationalist man who was my father ever came to expressing what he never put into words. Flashing fireflies, the silence broken only by crickets. Flashing fireflies, the silence broken only by crickets. Thank you for the opportunity to read some of his work.
Lovely, lovely, Shalini. You read so well and you talk so well. Thank you so much. We'll now go to Shobhana. Yes, Shobhana,
Thank you, Kala.
stage is yours.
Thank you. Such an honor to be reminiscing about Johannes. I had the privilege of meeting him a couple of times. The first time was at the Haiku festival put together by Ramesh in Bombay. And some of the things that instantly come to mind when you think of Johannes is a razor sharp intellect and a wit to match. He could joke with a straight face, and he was one of those mentors who would guide you very willingly along the way, and who would also call you out when you made a mistake. And you need that when you're struggling in your years as a writer. I remember I just started writing haibun at that time, and I sometimes you just want to ask everyone to help you, unravel what a haibun is. And when I asked Johannes whether he would help me out, he said, "Yeah, sure, but don't expect a prompt response." And I sent him a couple of haibun. And I remember one particular haibun that I'd written to him, and he wrote back saying, "Try harder." And that's kind of become my motto, right? Try harder. Him and Anjali. Anjali would send me a mail saying, what is it that you were thinking when you were writing this sentence? You surely can do better or something. And I realized as you grow older that you need so much of that when you are beginning to write and all along the way. One of the things that strikes me most about Johannes's work is his ability to seamlessly straddle the zoom in and zoom out that we talk about. He talks about the expanse of the sky, and he's got this larger than life vision for life. And then he's suddenly zoning down into the minutiae of life. And that's why I picked one particular haibun that to me is the essence of what makes a poet different from other people. A poet is someone who can look at a cone of ice cream and write verse out of that, can make you actually wonder about all the things that melting cone can actually do to you, can invoke in you. And Johannes did that so effortlessly. And this entire book that Nandini has so thoughtfully put together with so much care is you see so much of Johannes there, the honesty of work, the astute observation, the silence, the spaces, and all that we try and struggle so hard to encapsulate in haikai writing. And I'm also reminded of Pico Iyer's words in Autumn Light, where he says, as you grow older, you find yourself drawn to your childhood. And I think in that way, this is such a magical tribute to capture his childhood in the form of a book. So thank you for that, Nandini, Naina, Paresh, and to Red River and Divya Jyoti, who has, I think, suffered many of us writers here in his avatar as a publisher. So thank you very much for that. I'd like to read Ice Cream, if you would be able to share it, Ravi, or I have it with me. Thank you so much. Ice cream. Although, yes, ice cream. Although he sighs to himself ever so often, the old man, hands folded in his lap and pen neatly clipped to a shirt pocket that betrays the outlines of a mobile phone, sits patiently enough. The boy is completely immersed in his little plastic cup of ice cream. Once in a while, he surfaces to look up for approval, and the old man nods and smiles encouragingly. When the ice cream has begun to melt, the old man takes over the flat plastic spoon. The boy's white-rimmed mouth is always ready, even before the next spoonful. The old man's shirt pocket lights up. Yes, yes, he says to the mobile. We'll be home in 10 minutes. Evening breeze. The langurs on the wall watch every movement. Evening breeze. The langurs on the wall watch every movement. Thank you all for this honor, and thank you for having me as part of this.
Thank you so much, Shobhana. Thank you so much for your insightful talk. What you said about Johannes. Thank you so much. Now, you've all had a taste of his haibun. You had a taste of what the cover meant and what Nandini told us about how she went about this book. Now, we go over to Naina Manjrekar for the website she has created for her father. Please. Over to you, Naina.
Thank you so much, Kala, and to everyone else who's been part of this really wonderful community, which I think my mother and I had only heard about from my father, but got to experience firsthand this February. So that's been really wonderful to sort of get to know a part of my father's life, which we didn't really know. And like my mother said, the haibun that she's put together in this lovely book is only a small part of his haibun. And all of that is also a small part of everything else he did, because he was, he just had many, many interests, and he had a very, rich kind of internal life, which he expressed in many different forms through different kinds of writing, and also in photography. And so like she said, this website is really a kind of way to put all of these different ways in which he kind of, expressed his interest in the world in one place as a sort of archive. And I'll kind of run through it a little bit, and maybe I'll just put also a link in the chat box, so that at leisure, whoever, if you're interested, you can kind of go and check it out. I don't trust myself to be able to talk about him very much. So, pardon me if this comes across as a little bit of a, technical run through of the work. So the website is kind of, it's got a section on writing here, and a section on haiku. And I really have to acknowledge Serge Thomé of Ton Libre, which is this French haiku website, where he has collected about 168 of my father's haiku, and lovingly actually translated all of them into French. So most of the haiku here is really from his website. It also, on this website, there's space for comments. And I know that, a lot of the haiku community, which has been able to transcend, borders and kind of space, has been through being able to engage on the internet with each other's poetry. And so, there's a small way to do that here. But I won't kind of go through all of this. It's quite a bit, and it spans 16 years of his writing haiku. I just want to show some other, and many of you are probably familiar with this genre of his writing, which is haiku and senryu and haibun. What I want to kind of quickly do, I know I don't have very long, is to kind of show you some other kinds of his writing, and then really focus on his photography, because the book which some of you have, the haibun book, has his photographs. Again, that's a very, very, very small part of all his photographs. There are thousands. And so this website is really very much a work in progress. And I just want to show you a small sample, and it'll keep building. So, you can kind of keep coming back and seeing if there's new stuff that's been put up. So just quickly, apart from the haiku, there's some of his scientific writing, and you can kind of click on these little bits here, and it'll open up some of the writing. At least two of these that I've found are with his students, one of whom is here today. And part of what we haven't even kind of dared to kind of get into in terms of his writing is the really important side of his life, which was as a teacher and as an academic, mentor. So when we went to clear out my father's office and his department, we found several years of notebooks of his teaching notes, down to he wrote out all his lectures word for word and updated them and so on. So one of our ideas was to also compile all of that, because that was a very important part of his life for the last 30 years. And apart from that, I should also say that not everything he wrote was even on his computer, because he used to always carry little notes of paper in his trouser pockets or in his shirt pocket. And, write down things he had to do in the day, but alongside that, you would also have little, sometimes haiku, sometimes little bits of social observation, some of which were often quite, satirical sometimes. So there are all, and he kept all these fragments of paper. Some were yellowing, and there were just piles of these. So there's a whole life in writing and photography there, and some of which we'll be able to put together. And I don't know if we'll ever be able to put all of it together. So some of this is his scientific writing, but he also wrote, commentary pieces on society and politics, sometimes using his scientific, sort of expertise. So, for instance, in this tab on contemporary commentary, the first thing is his response to a report that was brought out on genetically modified brinjals. And I mean, it sounds like a very kind of specialized piece of writing, but he also uses his kind of wit and satire and kind of deconstructing the findings of this expert committee. So it's quite a nice and very accessible read. And he also wrote pieces like the second one, which was on Article 370. And he has a lot more of these. So this is just an early beginning, but it gives you a sense that, his haiku and science and politics and the last of these, which is children's writing, which is my first introduction to his writing at a very young age, which and my first beginning as well in trying to write by simply copying what he was writing. And again, here you see something which was one of his loves, which was insect life. And his first photography exhibition in Baroda was called The Little Life. And I'll show you some of the photographs which he took, which are also of insects. And his lab was scattered with plastic jars of beetles that he would collect. So some of his students kind of told us that, they would sometimes see him around on the university campus, and then suddenly he dived into some bush to catch a beetle, and we found several generations, I think, of these beetles in these plastic jars. But he did write children's poetry, and I think that his love of nature and his ability to engage in a kind of childlike curiosity and be, attuned to the way that children see the world, really kind of helped him to, keep a sense of wondrousness, which was a very, very important part of him. He had a very big interior world, and he had a very large sense of wondrousness. So what Shobhana was saying earlier about being able to zoom in and zoom out, you see that in his photography, you see that, I think, in his haiku, although I'm by no means, any kind of authority on that, but you also see it in some of his children's writing, where, he would be able to get children interested in insect life and to be able to pay attention to these little creatures. So there is a collection here, again, not exhaustive in any sense. He wrote not only poetry for children, but also prose, which kind of like the Haibun book on childhood really captures what being young and, spending afternoons climbing trees and getting into scrapes is like. So he wrote a, a, a story called The Back Row Gang, which was kind of inspired by his own childhood in Mysore and going to school and this sort of group of gangly boys and their little everyday adventures. So we haven't really, the prose isn't here, but some of the poetry is, and it's very charming. So just to get a sense of the wide range of the kinds of writing that he could do, from haiku and haibun to science to children's poetry and prose. And in fact, there was a really lovely interview that Ramesh Gauri Raghavan had done with him, where he asked, I don't know if he's here actually in the meeting now, but both Kala and I looked for this interview and were not able to find it anywhere. But he asks my father about how his haiku and science and photography kind of inform each other, and through the images, through this attentiveness to detail, to being able to slow down on particular moments, and that act of kind of zooming in. So I'm going to try and find, or maybe Kala can help to try and find this interview, and I'll put it up on this website, because I think that really, in his own words, talks about bringing all these different forms of writing and photography that he did into conversation with each other. So having kind of gone through his different kinds of writing, I just want to also now show the photography. Now, as I mentioned, the photography that's here is a very, 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 very small part of his huge collection of photography. He kind of started, he made some of these into collections. So these two are collections that he made, and one of them is called City Poetry. And so this is really kind of urban photography, street photography, and I'll just kind of run through it slowly. And I want to pause at one of them, which really it shows this connection between his haibun and photography and the images that he captures in these two different forms. He kind of did take some of these kind of more abstract form kind of images. But I'm going to run through some of these, and Kala or anyone else, if you want to kind of come in and speak about some of the photographs, or I'll just leave it to you to, relate to the photographs as you see them and interpret them.
We can just go down.
Yeah.
I particularly liked that camel. Can you show that?
Yes, yeah. So I'll just go down to that.
Yeah, no hurry.
And
oh, look at that smile. This. 1 second, Naina. See, we all know the door which says push. Look at Johannes, where he's showing the person pushing the door. I thought that was a beautiful snap to take, a moment to take, Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll get to the camel. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yes.
This
Can you
one
read
has.
you? Naina, you have it with you?
Yeah. I'm just going to put it in the chat actually, so people can
Okay.
also read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of his. I don't know if it's a haiku or a senryu.
Senryu? Yeah.
So it's traffic argument. The camel's sneer is impartial. Traffic argument. The camel's sneer is impartial. And there's this photograph that he took, and on the left on the screen, and so you can kind of see how he captures images both with his camera lens and in his scenario. So yeah. And two of his sort of favorite muses were crows and langurs. So the one on the right is a silhouette of a crow sitting on I think dry fish drying, and I'll put up as much of his photography as we can. But langurs and crows keep coming back. I think he kind of found that they had quite a personality.
Yes.
So I'll the link is in the chat box of the website, but I just want to go to another very different kind of photography that he also did. And that is of insects. So this is a collection that he titled Jewels. So I'll just slowly run through these.
Beautiful.
So he used to often get us to, stop and notice these things which we would never have kind of, noticed just walking past them. But he would always be able to spot these tiny little beetles or spiders or grasshoppers. And yeah, so you see that kind of attention to the little life in this collection. Yeah, so that's just two kind of examples of the very different kinds of photography that he used to do. And there's also another tab here, which is tributes that people have written for him in the last 3 years. So one is from Cafe Haiku, another is from Cattails, and some of you who've written these tributes are actually here today. And the first one is something which came out in a science journal and talks more about his sort of scientific work and contributions. And there's also another section of the website where you can actually leave messages about his writing or photography, or if you want to leave a message in memory of him. And we'll put that up in a different section of the website for messages. So yeah, and also this is an appeal for, if you know of writing or photography, which is not here because we're trying to pool all of these together, please do get in touch and you can leave a message, and we'll add that to this growing archive, which is still in its very early stages. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Naina. You have covered the whole thing, and I don't know how many hours it took you to do this. It would have taken you a lot of time, but thanks a lot. We now go to Maria Sten. I don't know whether I'm getting your surname correctly, Maria. Would you tell us something about what you know about Johannes and your years of association and interaction with him, please? Is Maria here?
Hello?
Yes, Maria?
Can you hear me, Carla?
Yes, I can. Very clear.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Carla. And good evening and good morning to everybody. I would like to thank you all, especially Nandini and you, Carla, and Naina and Haiku India for the invitation to join this wonderful book launch. it's really been very special to listen to everybody speak about Johannes and especially read his haibun. It's been quite moving and wonderful for me to hear everything. And Nina, oh dear, have I gone? Am I still there?
You're still there. Please continue.
Oh, okay. I just seem to disappear on this side. But anyway, Naina, I particularly enjoyed your contribution. The photographs are absolutely wonderful, and you are doing a wonderful job there to put this website together. So I hope to visit soon. Just a little bit about Johannes and I. Johannes and I met around the year 2000 on the Shakioku Haiku email list that was run by the late Timothy Russell. We soon discovered that our countries and backgrounds shared many similarities. This was a joy to me. We started writing short, informal haiku conversations together and found that we could relate to a lot of the different things that we noticed and saw in our respective countries. We often wrote about topics such as street vendors, rats, cockroaches, of all things, violence, war, social injustice, cricket matches, and birds. I would like to read two of Johannes's haiku from this period, since they are evocative and they express so much of the way in which he viewed life. The first one is, swinging lantern, a cockroach moves with the shadow. Swinging lantern, a cockroach moves with the shadow. Now, everybody who's familiar with cockroaches would have to chuckle at that, because that's exactly what a cockroach likes to do. The second one is petrol station. A rat climbs up the plaster shearer's arm. Petrol station. A rat climbs up the plaster shearer's arm. When Johannes heard my 8-year-old daughter was being homeschooled due to health issues, he sent her short notes and stories about the famous back row gang that Naina also mentioned. And we thoroughly enjoyed those stories. She really, really enjoyed that. He became a treasured family friend. Tumi valued the correspondence, and now, in her early 30s, she still remembers Johannes as an important person from her childhood. His lively interest in people and animals was infectious. I also found him to be one of the most non-judgmental, empathic people I ever met. As a creative writer, Johannes had many stories to tell, as we've seen here tonight, and I will always admire the way in which he claims the haiku and haibun genres to tell his own unique story. I want to applaud Nandini for her perseverance and hard work, and obviously Naina as well, to have this collection of haibun published. I know that Johannes was quite self-effacing, and I often asked him whether he was going to publish his work, and he always kind of just said, well, maybe later. He's not sure about that. But I'm kind of sure that he's looking down on this meeting tonight and feels quite happy with what's happening here, and that he feels that this collection is a very good representation of some of his best haibun, and I hope there would be more to come. Everything in the book, from the exquisite cover art by Janil Sangor, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, to the book design, the blurb written by Yukala, the foreword by Nandini, and the afterword by Paresh, if I remember correctly, highlights the aesthetic and social values Johannes so passionately espoused. And a special thank you to you, Nandini, for taking such trouble to send a copy to me. It's one of my treasured books. Johannes's memory will be with us always. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be able
Thank you
to
so much,
say a
Maria.
few
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would request K. Ramesh, Gautam Nadkarni. I don't know whether he's here. And
Ramesh is not here, Kala, but
Ramesh Gauri Raghavan, are you here?
Ramesh and Ramesh, I don't think I hear Kala, but
No,
Gautam
they're
is
not
here.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gautam is here.
Ramesh, are you here?
Gautam is here.
Gautam is here?
Gautam
Yeah.
is not here, Kala.
Oh,
Okay.
not there. Okay.
He was there some back.
Yep,
Okay.
he was there, but right now he's not there.
Yeah. And what about K. Ramesh?
No, he's not there either.
Not there.
Okay. Okay. So then,
Kala, can I say something?
course.
Actually, Jinal is just back from the US where she was at a residency. And I'm not sure, she's the one who designed the cover. And I'd requested her to be here today and she's very jet lagged, but she has joined. And I don't know if there's anyone who would like to ask Jinal about the cover in particular, if Jinal's up to it through her jet lag to speak. She's actually joined us. Yes.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much. I'm happy you liked it. Yeah. Is Gina coming? Susan, would you like to say a few words? Did you enjoy?
Yes, it was lovely. Thank you so much for reaching out and including so many of us from this part of the globe. It was wonderful. So I have a copy of the book and I am eager to dive back into it now that I've heard it in a different light. It's really brought the book to life to hear it. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And being with us throughout. Thanks a lot, Susan.
Oh, it's been wonderful. A beautiful way to start the day.
Thank you. Is Gina here, Nandini?
Yeah, I've spotlighted her. Jinal, hi, good evening, welcome.
Hi. Well, I actually have no words to say because I've been traveling with this book all across like the US. I was in New York, upstate New York for about 5 weeks, and then in LA for 3 days and back in Mumbai now. So this book has been my journey as well. Not during this time, but also while reading when Nandini sent me the draft. And I think I realized a lot while being at the residency about my process of work and how I was able to connect two things. One is, this idea of wonder and how just being able to wonder about the world around us. This helps us grow so much, grow in and out, like you really feel you're in everything else, like all the insects and the trees and the sand and the stones and everything around you, but they're also moving into you. And I feel so much like, I feel so much about that with my work and myself. And of course, well, the other thing is how important it is to just be present in this moment of, being in wonder at all times. And I feel, when Paresh was actually talking, Nandini has also told me this before, like when Johannes was walking and he takes his time to walk and he he just, you never know, like he's lost into something. And so for me, it is something that's so special, that narrative, because well, frankly, I've also been walking a lot and I get lost and I feel I really miss him. Like I wish I had a chance to meet him. But this book has been very, very close to my heart. And I don't think I have more words to say now because I'm already so overwhelmed by, Nandini's by everything about this book. Yeah. So thank you, Nandini, and thank you for having me.
Thank
be
you
part
so
of
much.
this book. Yeah.
Shobhana, would you like to, is there anyone, Shobhana, would you take over the question?
Yeah,
answer
sure.
session?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many of you would may have had the chance to be acquainted with Johannes. We'd like to open the floor to anything that you might want to share or questions you might have regarding his work. So it's over. You could either speak it out on your microphone or put it on the chat box, and I'll be very happy to read it for everyone.
May I speak a few words?
Yes.
Please go ahead, sir, please.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Krishna, and I've known Johannes since 1968 when he was in 3rd grade. And today, as I listen to his legacy here, if you will, this is a whole different Johannes to me. It's so different and refreshing to see where he's gone and where he went and what he left behind for us. The last chance I had to talk to him was 2 weeks before he passed away. We spoke for about an hour and a half about retirement, getting together, traveling, spending time together, and doing all those wonderful things that we dream about doing. And it was a bit of a shocker when it happened. And it still is to me. I spent several years, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, bachelors, young bachelors, and more recently when he was here for, when I say here, I live in the Boston area, and he was at MIT for 2 years on a research project. We literally met every weekend. And my family knew him too. He was such a deep influence on my family as well. And as a coincidence, my son married somebody who's of German origin. And they're so deeply influenced by him that our little 20-month-old grandchild is named Johannes. It's very emotional for me to talk about this because I see him in my grandchild every time I meet him. We met Nandini, we met Naina, all our families got together. As Nandini put it, the Hudguru from Mysore, meaning the boys from Mysore. Somebody once described Mysore as being this eclectic place where people from all over the world came together. And that life is relived through the work that he's left behind. There are stories, there are incidences that I can very directly relate to. Every day in high school, we went to school together. I'd sit on my cycle bar and he'd ride the bike, the bigger, heftier, stronger person. Every day he was exploited, and we did that. At lunchtime, there was a huge banyan tree outside our classroom, or in our campus. And it was a challenge to climb up, sit on the branches, eat our lunch there. And the challenge after that was to climb higher and higher and see where we could go. I went back to the tree 2 years back, it's still there. And the reminders of all those memories are still there. I can see with his gift for words that his heart was full of those experiences that he needed to express. And a lot of them that he never did. A lot of them that he kept inside. What a wonderful person. And what a wonderful tribute. Nandini, Naina, kudos to you for keeping this and publishing it for all of us to share and for all of us to cherish. And this whole group of people here, completely different from anybody that I know that he knew, is so refreshing. It's so delightful. Thank you so much. Nandini, definitely for insisting that I join. And I'm so happy that I did. And Naina, it's beautiful to see you again. We hope that we can meet you sometime. Saryu and Vikas talk about you quite a bit. And of the times that you spent here when you were here for a short period of time. We'd love to all get together again. And thank you all for such a wonderful job, such a big, huge team job that you did in putting this together.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Krishna. Thanks for your very effective talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Krishna. I think there's not a dry eye here in this virtual room hearing you speak. Thank you for that. A lot of thoughts pouring in. I'm just going to begin with the Ms. Geeta Vishwanath's sharing. I don't know how many of you know about Johannes as a connoisseur of food. Just as with everything around him, he had a keen appreciation of food. He himself was an excellent maker of salads. He put them together with the same care that he put words together in his writings. I'd also like to take a brief moment to acknowledge the fact that we have so many poets from the Haiku Association of North America joining us. Thank you very much for sparing your time on a Sunday morning to be here and celebrate a life that goes on giving long past its time, his time on planet Earth. There's a message from Robert Kingston. Thank you for a wonderful introduction to Johannes. Thank you, Kala, for bringing him into my world. Paula Sears has this to say. Thank you for inviting those of us from HPNC, as this was a beautiful honor to an incredibly gifted poet. I look forward to obtaining the book and exploring the website more with much gratitude over time. Wishing peace in your hearts to all of you, those who knew him, and especially his family. This has been a lovely event. Richard Burns, thank you for including the HPNC in this marvelous and powerful sharing of a major haiku poet, and for me, an introduction to the poets of India, Richard of Napa, California, and thanks for the sharing of photography. As a retired photographer, I can say his work was masterful. Lakshmi Iyer says, thank you all. It's been wonderful once again to listen to Nandini, Naina, Kala, Paresh, Shalini, Shobhana. Very soulful. I keep searching for titles for my haibun, and I like the way Johannes, his title is haibun, with Bisai Kumar, Driver Sheikh, and many more. Thank you so much. Praniti says, thanks for a wonderful meeting. Great to see all familiar faces again. Very heartwarming. I saw a couple of familiar faces, Gary Gay and others. Susan Antolin, of course, is left. Any of you would like to share anything to, please go ahead. Teji Sethi from Bangalore says, thanks for organizing this, Kala. I'm in awe of his writing and his life as a whole. Relived the Triveni Utsav experience. Thank you, Nandini, Shalini, Firdaus, Paresh, Naina, Ravi, for the renditions. Good night, everyone.
Amazing. It's beautiful. Gary, I'm so happy you're here. I missed you in the beginning, I think. Thank you so much. All I can say is a huge dhanyavad, a huge thank you to everyone who stayed here. We started off with nearly 58 poets, which is a beautiful gathering. I mean, it's not often that you see, because we are tired of websites and we are tired of Zoom meetings. So it's beautiful that today we could get together. And thank you, Naina. Thank you, Nandini. And thanks to every one of you here. Thanks a lot, Shobhana, for hosting this event and for recording this, and for Ravi, who put all the who shared all the screenshots for us. It was all beautifully done. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandini.
Thank you so
Just
much.
keep it live for a little bit, just to see if anybody wants. There is still 45 people in the room, just in case anybody wants to speak.
Thank you for a beautiful evening, Madam.
Appreciating the life of another with so many people appreciating that life really helps us appreciate our own lives. And to hear friends and family and the sadness and the joy mixed together really do make a rainbow.
Thank you.
Indeed, you did. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you, Shivakami. Billy. Thank you, Billy. Linda, did you like the evening?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I started, well, I got involved in the haiku communities probably around a little bit after, slightly after 2000. And I don't remember where I encountered Johannes. It was either at World Haiku Club or the old Cheeky List. And what I remember at that point, being a beginner, is that it was always such a treat whenever he posted. I really, it was just wonderful. And I was a fan for a long time. I hadn't heard much of his work since those early days. So this has been really, really nice to get reacquainted with it. And I am absolutely overwhelmed with the way he kept his child mind acute and sharp and observing. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much. Billy, did you enjoy the evening?
Well, it's morning for me, but yes, very much. A lovely way to invigorate my day. I'm really inspired. And I think that that this will bump up my writing for the rest of the day. And of course, I'm going to be writing some haibun now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Billy. Thank you so much.
Did you want to say something, Shreya?
Hello, everyone. It was so good to see you all today.
Oh, Shreya.
Hello, ma'am.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're all good. We're all good here.
It was actually really overwhelming to hear all this about Johannes, and if I come to think of it, he was really the first person that I ever met from the haiku world. I mean, his was the first workshop at Katha that I ever attended. And guilty of charge, I did not understand anything. But I remember he had a really sore throat at that point, and he had explained something to us about a moon and a ring. I've told this a lot of times. He pointed at the moon and he said, I want you to talk about the moon. I want you to talk about the ring on my finger, but I don't want you to talk about my finger. And it left me very confused. But it was much later in my writing years or my haiku years that I finally understood what he meant. So I've had these just one or two meetups with Johannes or conversations with him, but they were always so delightful. And I just can't help but feel I wish he was here today. But just to hear everybody talk about him, I'm sure he would have been so happy. But thank you to you guys for organizing all of this. It was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreya.
So Nandini's just shared that the book is available on Amazon, and I've just shared the link for those of you who might want to buy it.
I think Rita has raised her hand.
Yes.
Sorry, yes, sorry, go ahead.
This was such a gift, and another gift from India to all of us, and so inspiring, just at all levels for me specifically, because I'm a poet, but I'm also a photographer and a lover of India. And so for me, this was a truly precious, priceless gift. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
So much for coming and being with us throughout. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to HPNC Poets for this remarkable generosity of spirit. I think this is what makes us human. This is what differentiates. This is what makes community what it is, and building a community like this to celebrate a life, to celebrate one another, is the only way forward. Going as we are into a world fraught with uncertainty. So deep gratitude from all of us here in India, to all of you joining in from different parts of the world, to HPNC Poets especially. Thank you very much for sharing what you did just now about Johannes and about working together.
Truly. And Susan, you've been so generous and saying yes when I wrote to you and said, do you think you'll be able to join us? And you agreed immediately. Thank you so much. And it's lovely. I think we should really do something really collaborative with 50-50, with both of us contributing next time. That will be the next event from us. Yes. So shall we call it a day? Yes. Thank you to everyone. Thanks.
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
Kumar. It's been wonderful.
I'm just going to stop the recording now if anyone wants to. I'm sorry, I think I interrupted.
Yes. So we can all. Thanks a lot, Shobhana, for doing.